Sophie Rain might have actually gotten fucking scammed by her own financial advisor because of pure intelligence, and it gets worse the more you hear about it. He was only giving her $5,000 a month and putting the rest into a random business she didn't even understand. That's daylight robbery, and the craziest part is she didn't even question it.
Well, that could be the reality. You don't know how much these money people that are like working with you are taking.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to say what percent they're taking? That's the thing. You have and they could be taking some crazy percent where if you just spent a little bit more time finding someone else.
Mm-hmm. I have a financial advisor. Basically, I'll get paid through the site, and it goes straight to him into a financial firm, and then he pays me $5,000 a month.
And then you just
and then I live off that and my credit card off.
She really went on a podcast casually admitting she had no clue what her net worth was, and somehow thought saying that out loud wouldn't sound insane. Not a rough estimate, not even a ballpark that made sense. She threw out numbers like 5 million to 20 million, like she was guessing the price of a handbag instead of her entire financial life. That's not being a little off, that's being completely detached from reality. And the crazy part is she wasn't even embarrassed at first. She said it so casually, yeah, I don't really know, that's why I pay someone to handle it. That line alone should have set off alarms in her own head. You're making tens of $millions, and your entire strategy is just handing it over and hoping for the best? That's not delegation, that's financial roulette.
I don't know. I'm not that's why I pay someone to do all of my financial stuff for me. I don't know anything about this.
I was
going to
guess it has to be 50.
Okay. I was 5 to 20 was my guess.
Then the host does some quick math and lands somewhere around 43 million, and suddenly the gap becomes obvious. This wasn't a small miscalculation. This is a difference so big it basically proves she has no idea what's happening with her own money. Imagine working non-stop, pulling in that level of income, and you don't even know if you're closer to broke millionaire or mega rich. That's not a flex, that's a problem.
On the conservative side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes me to 43.
Okay.
If I ask you what's your net worth and you're saying between 5 and 20, that shows to me that you have no idea what's going on financially, which is insane to me because if you're grinding so hard.
What makes it worse is how normal she thinks it is. She genuinely believed this was just how things go. Yeah, I make money, but someone else deals with it. I don't ask questions. That mindset is exactly how people get robbed without even realizing it. Not in some dramatic movie way, but slowly, quietly, through fees, bad investments, and people taking advantage of the fact that you're not paying attention. And let's talk about that advisor situation because that's where it gets really messy. She couldn't even say what percentage they were talking, not even a rough idea. You're trusting someone with millions and you don't even know how much they're charging you? That's actually wild. That's like handing someone your wallet every day and never checking what's missing. At that point, if money disappears, you kind of helped it happen. The podcast host basically had to spell it out for her. What if they're taking way more than they should? What if they're investing in terrible things? What if they're just straight up incompetent? And her response was just, I don't know. Of course she doesn't know. She never checked. She never asked. She just assumed everything was fine because the money kept coming in. There's also this weird contradiction where she clearly works hard and cares about making money, but puts zero effort into understanding it. That makes no sense. You'll grind for hours, build your brand, grow your income, but spending even a little time learning where it goes is somehow too much. It's like doing all the hard work to fill a bucket and then refusing to look at the giant hole at the bottom. And then she starts saying maybe she should take a course or learn about it, which is honestly the first sensible thing she said in a minute. But even then, it feels late. Not too late, but definitely later than it should have been. You don't wait until you're dealing with tens of millions to figure out basic financial awareness. That's something you should have been curious about way earlier.
5 times more money doing that.
I literally have considered taking a college course online.
You don't need to do that.
You don't even need to do that.
Literally
that's so
find
simple.
someone that's financially literate.
The RJ Mid example they brought up just made everything worse. Someone successful, making good money, trusting the wrong person and ending up in a financial mess. That's not some rare horror story. That's what happens when you combine money with blind trust and zero oversight. And Sophie sitting there realizing that could easily be her and should have been a wake-up call.
We had on another person who had a very successful career, thought they made all this money, and then realized, wait a second, the person I trusted with my money ended up squandering all of it. And I owe taxes. that I
So
don't
he,
have.
he was actually negative net worth after it was RJ Mitty who was on Breaking Bad, like a main star on Breaking Bad. And
Damn, he was negative?
He was,
Negative.
he
had
was like in
negative
severe
money.
financial duress.
So I
That's-
I need to open a book or something.
Well, you don't need to open a book.
What really stands out is how avoidable all of this is. Nobody is saying she needs to become some financial expert overnight, but knowing your net worth is like the bare minimum. That's the starting point. That's the number that tells you if everything you're doing is actually working. Not knowing is like driving a car with no speedometer and no fuel gauge and just hoping you don't crash or run out. And the whole idea of getting a fiduciary to review things just shows how deep the issue is. You literally need a neutral third party to come in and tell you if the person you hired is doing their job properly. That's not a normal level of trust, that's damage control. The most frustrating part is that she's in a position most people would kill for. Massive income, huge opportunities, and access to resources that could set her up for life. And instead of locking that down, she's just floating through it, completely unaware of what's actually happening behind the scenes. It's like being handed a winning lottery ticket and not even checking the numbers.
This is my baby.
You have any miles or anything done to it?
Nothing done yet. I'm waiting because I want to take it to a track and completely like slam on it.
In a different interview, she actually revealed her financial advisor actually only gives her $5,000 a month and invests the rest into businesses. And she said that like it was a good thing, like she cracked the code. Meanwhile, she had zero idea what those businesses even were. No names, no details, no returns, nothing, just vibes and blind trust.
I have a financial advisor. He's great. I love him so much. Basically, like I'll get paid through the site and it goes straight to him into a financial firm, and then he pays me like $5,000 a month,
And then you just like,
and then I live off that and my credit card.
$5,000 a month. That's what she was living on while making tens of millions. Do you understand how crazy that sounds? What doesn't sound crazy is catching internet drama on our Spotify while you're on the go, getting your steps in, or doing the dishes. What does sound crazy is calling that financial management. That's being put on an allowance like a kid who can't be trusted with their own money. Except the kid in the situation is a grown adult making more money than most people will ever see in their lifetime, and instead of questioning it, she's praising it. That's the part that really gets me. Not even a little suspicion, not even a single follow-up question like, hey, where is the rest going? Even XQC brought up how none of this even adds up. His main point is actually pretty simple. She donated $1 million to the Team Water stream. I mean, you don't donate $1 million if your net worth is only $5 million. That's not generosity, that's financial self-destruction.
Guys, this clip farming era is gone too far. Guys, it's so branded. Brother, she literally donated 1 mil flat to the Team Waters stream, like live on air, instantly. Brother, if there was this 5 mil, you think she would have given 20% of her post-tax net worth off the rip on a phone call on a whim if she's worth 5 mil? Come on, bro. That's cap.
No,
5
it
to
has
20? 5 to
No,
20?
it has to be more than that.
I don't know. Like I'm not like that's why I pay someone to do all of my financial stuff for me. I don't know anything about this.
I was
kind of
gonna
world.
guess it has to be 50.
Okay. I was like 5 to 20 was my guess somewhere.
It has to be higher than that.
This is rage bait. I'm falling for it. This is rage bait.
I pay a lot like in taxes though, so like I don't.
Yeah, but if you made a-
I don't have that much.
If you know, well, we do the math. I'm
Probably
basically taking
40.
your total income, subtracting taxes, subtracting living expenses and other discretionary spending.
Okay.
Then I'm adding in the fact that you've been investing the money an extra 15% over the last 2 years,
Okay.
which is on the conservative side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes me to 43.
Okay.
Cap. She's worth like probably like I'd say probably 125 mil. I would say. Yeah, if I were to take a guess, I'd probably say 125 mil is what I would say.
I saw some rumors on Twitter about how much money you make.
That was all true. No one believes me, but it is very true.
She has made $82 million in the last year and a half.
I'm just so nervous because all of this could disappear tomorrow.
Okay, $82 million doesn't disappear tomorrow.
You know how much money she makes an hour? $28,472.
insane.
Oh, this is a slow month. In July, she only made 3.4 million. Someone took a vacation.
I almost
This week.
made more than LeBron last year.
Once you laid it out, it stopped looking like confusion and started looking like a straight contradiction. She had already claimed 43 million in 2024 alone. That was 1 year, not her lifetime total. Then later she said she had made around 82 to 83 million over roughly 2 years. After that, it went up again to 95 million by late 2025, and by early 2026, she had claimed her total earnings cost 101 million.
43 million is crazy. I honestly did not think I'd be making anywhere close to that amount when I started, so I just want to say thank you to all of y'all out there, every single one of you guys who have been supporting me this whole time. I owe you guys. Like, this is all because of you, so thank you so much.
Hi, did I go to college? Am I an astronaut?
No, not exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly?
Well, you started working at a restaurant when you were in high school, and then you somehow became famous on the internet.
Famous? Am I for being a beauty influencer?
Sort of. People definitely like you for your looks and your personality.
I'm a Kardashian then? Oh.
It's an interesting way to put it. You definitely have the money, but not that level of fame yet.
I mean, for real though, each statement she says, her facial expression just doesn't match it. I mean, just look closely at when she says her parents are proud of her.
Are my parents proud?
Yeah, they're proud of you.
What's depressing is how she pulled in her daughter Piper into this degeneracy.
Well, what about a boyfriend?
No, not right now. Dating's a little complicated with the job you have.
But let me get one thing clear here. Sophie Rain is married and has a whole different private life, but I'm gonna get to that in a bit. So somehow, this woman keeps finding brand new ways to embarrass herself on the internet, and at this point it almost feels like a talent. Every couple of months she pops back up with some new stunt that is supposed to make people impressed, shocked, or emotional, and instead the internet just ends up laughing at her. The latest thing she did is one of those TikToks where someone talks to their younger self from years ago. You've probably seen this trend before because people on TikTok love doing it. Usually the idea is that someone pretends to have a conversation with their past self and the younger version asks questions about the future. The older version answers those questions and reflects on life, and it's supposed to be this sweet or emotional moment where people talk about how far they've come. Now, that concept can actually work if the person doing it is genuine and not trying to turn everything into a marketing stunt. Unfortunately, Sophie Rain is physically incapable of doing anything without turning it into a marketing stunt.
This is business!
So she uploads this video where she's supposedly talking to herself from 10 years ago. The younger version asks questions like, did you go to college? Did you become an astronaut? Are you famous? Are your parents proud of you? You know, normal kid questions that sound innocent and hopeful. And the older Sophie answers them while acting like this is some deep reflection about her life. But here's the problem that made the entire internet immediately start clowning her. The younger Sophie from 10 years ago looks exactly like the current Sophie. Not similar, not close, exactly the same. Same face, same skin, same everything. Now, according to her own story, she would have been about years old in that supposed old video. Wait a second, let me get GPT to generate her 11-year-old self. And there you have it. She somehow expects everyone to believe that the clip is from 10 years ago, even though it looks like it was filmed 10 minutes before the other one. Does she not age? Why does she look exactly the same? And she does not even try that hard to sell the illusion either. The way she talks about her life in that video is so awkward, it almost feels like she accidentally exposed herself. During the conversation, the quote-unquote younger version asks what she does for work. Instead of just saying it, the older Sophie starts acting all weird and secretive like she's hiding some huge mystery. She keeps saying things like, you'll find out later and you're too young to understand, which is funny because everyone watching the video already knows exactly what she does. She makes a content and constantly talks about how much money she makes from it. So watching her act mysterious about it is kind of hilarious. And speaking of talking about things every 5 minutes, Sophie once again brings up her favorite topic in the entire universe, her money. If you have seen any of her content, then you already know this is basically her personality now. She reminds the internet over and over again that she has made over $100 million. Every time she appears online, she somehow finds a way to mention that number. At some point, it stops sounding impressive and starts sounding like someone who is desperately trying to convince the internet that they are winning at life. And that is exactly why people keep roasting her, because when someone constantly brags about money while posting obvious rage bait, it starts to look less like success and more like attention begging. And as if things couldn't get any worse, apparently Sophie, or should I say Isabella Malaya Blair, because that's her real life behind the scenes name, isn't just a queen of content and clout, she's also officially off the market.
Sophie Rain is going viral and leaving people shocked for a very interesting reason. So just a few days ago, someone decided to do a deep dive on the background of Sophie Rain, and they ended up finding out Sophie Rain's real name but also her real age. They then posted a TikTok about it, also featuring old pictures of Sophie Rain from her childhood, and as you can see in this viral video, they wrote when she could have been 20-year-old Isabella Blair, but she chose to be Sophie Rain instead. Of course, this was the first video that someone made exposing this, but now people have heard the information and are making videos of their own. And now if you go to Sophie Rain's profile here on TikTok, it's gotten to the point that people are actually mentioning this in the comments of her TikTok videos. People are basically just finding any way to say Sophie Rain's real name, like this person right here who said, "Sorry, Isabel." I'm also pretty sure that Sophie Rain has some sort of filter on her comment section, or she's just deleting them herself, because that comment was there when I took a screenshot of it, but when I went to check back later, the comment was gone. This is definitely some very unexpected information being spread around about Sophie Rain. What do you all think about this whole Sophie Rain situation? Do you think she should have been hiding this from us or not?
She's married. Logan Windler is supposedly the lucky guy, and people are going ballistic because she's spent years selling the quirky, shy, innocent, barely legal vibe online while flexing insane earnings. Like she's out here posting "I'm single, I'm a virgin" content, and meanwhile the receipts are stacking. Hometown overlap, same high school, old photos, co-owned businesses, friends confirming, diamond ring glinting in the background. It's basically a full-blown paper trail screaming, yeah, she's married, duh! And she's been playing this meticulous chess game for years, controlling her image like a CEO, making everyone obsess over her age, virginity, and persona, all while her husband is quietly part of the puzzle. The audacity to act single while being married is almost impressive. Like, how do you balance running a multi-million-dollar online empire pretending you're some fresh-faced innocent and secretly being married? It's manipulative, calculated, and honestly a little hilarious. But the thing that makes this whole situation even funnier is that Sophie probably doesn't even care. As long as people keep talking about her, she is technically winning in terms of attention. And honestly, the moment Piper enters the story, everything starts looking a little bit more questionable. Because Piper is younger. And for a long time, she was literally still a minor while appearing in TikToks with Sophie. Now, normally when people think about collaborations between creators, they imagine harmless stuff like dance videos, comedy skits, maybe a challenge video. But the problem people pointed out is that some of these videos had both of them wearing outfits and doing dances that people felt were way too suggestive, especially considering Piper was 13 at the time. And this is where the roasting of Sophie really kicks in, because the internet basically started looking at the situation like Sophie was mentoring Piper into the exact same career path she took. At this point, people were joking that Sophie was basically Piper's internet mom. Not the good kind of internet mom that teaches someone how to edit videos or grow a channel, no. More like the chaotic internet mom that shows up and says, "Hey, you want to learn how to make the entire internet yell at you every week?" And the crazy part is that the timeline makes the joke feel a little too real. Because after spending a bunch of time around Sophie and doing these collaborations, Piper eventually launched her own adult content page as soon as she turned. The moment that happened, a lot of people online immediately connected the dots and went, wait a second, this looks really familiar.
I've been wanting to do this for so long. I know it sounds so terrible, but like, I just have wanted to express myself and not be judged on the internet without, like, you know, now I'm not shoving it in people's faces. Like, if you want to see it, now you gotta go pay for it. You know what I mean? It's not like.
It almost looked like Sophie had passed down the playbook.
Well, I want to make sure that there is a path. I'm not going to be one of those Republicans who's going to attack
crime.
Women.
And it seems to me that your initial assertions before we spoke to Sophie that she was, you know, that people like her on OnlyFans are enslaved, they're being exploited. He's not saying that everyone on OnlyFans should get the sin tax. He's just saying the people that he considers to be sinful should get a tax, and you're one of them. He thinks you're a sinner. What do you say to that?
Honestly, if you squint, it almost looks like Piers is ready to start paying her monthly subscription himself just to stay in her good books.
If you want to keep doing this, then we're going to take 50% of what you earn and we're going to use it to raise public school teacher pay. Our public school teachers are not getting paid enough. We're going to use this as a resource to fund the empowerment of young women who have signed up to do something dignified, with all due respect, unlike you, and be a public school teacher, educating, inspiring, and motivating.
Do you know what, James? You know what? Here's what I would say. I've got to end this debate. Here's what I would say. I've listened to both of you, and you both made good points. But honestly, that last statement you made was so pompous and patronising. Honestly, who are you to be the great moral arbiter of what young women do with themselves legally in the United States? Who are you to say if you become governor, you're going to take half her money in a state where they don't have even state income tax? It's like there's a real arrogance to this, that you've decided you are the moral arbiter of every Floridian, and it may be why you're trailing so badly in the polls. And Sophie, the good news for you is don't worry about it, because he's not going to win. So you're not going to end up giving Mr. Fishback any money for his plans, much as it would be great to put more money into teachers in public schools. Of course it would be.
Fishback's big idea, apparently, is that if you are making content online, especially on OnlyFriends, he's going to slap a 50% sin tax on you. He calls it a deterrent, but let's be honest, it reads more like a punishment for living a life he personally doesn't approve of. Sophie, being the unapologetic and very rich 21-year-old she is, responds with logic that Fishback seems allergic to. She reminds everyone that adults can legally make their own choices and that OnlyFriends isn't inherently pornographic. She even points out that a lot of people use the platform for completely normal things like cooking content. Fishback's response is classic moral panic, laced with paternalistic warnings and extreme analogies involving slavery and child marriage. Piers Morgan, meanwhile, keeps chiming in as if he's not just a journalist or moderator, but one of Sophie's personal hype men. He keeps defending her, interrupting Fishback, and basically saying we can't tax her or judge her because she's rich, famous, and clearly happy with her life. It honestly looks like he wants a VIP backstage to her life. You get the impression that if Fishback actually proposed a 100% OnlyFriends tax, Piers would still try to negotiate it down to zero and throw in a free TikTok duet while he's at it. Now here's the thing. Everyone has their opinion, and under US law, Sophie is not breaking any rules. There is absolutely nothing illegal about making a content if you're an adult. Consent is there, she's not harming anyone legally, and her parents support her. From a legal standpoint, she's clean. But here's where it gets messy. When you see the consequences, things start to look more complicated. Fishback keeps hammering the moral and social harm angle, and he isn't entirely wrong about that, even if his approach is aggressively tone deaf. And that's the major crack in Fishback's argument. His syntax isn't about punishing happy, successful creators, it's aimed at the audience who are likely under vulnerable, or just dumb enough to think that it's a viable life plan without thinking about the consequences. It's about protecting the people who could be hurt by the system, not just shaming Sophie. And yet the debate somehow circles back to Sophie defending herself as if she's being victimized. She keeps explaining that she's transparent, that she talks to her audience about the pros and cons, and that she's built multiple businesses off the back of OnlyFriends. She's basically saying, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not a victim. But Fishback, in typical paternalistic fashion, insists that young women need his guidance, that they're being exploited, and that OnlyFriends is a trap waiting to ruin their futures. He even throws in some bizarre scenario about Sophie's hypothetical daughter. She only talks about letting her daughter do OnlyFriends like it's a normal career choice, completely ignoring the real risk and social consequences.
Sophie, would you be supportive of your son selling crack cocaine?
No, that is illegal.
Right. Okay, so why, what is this difference between legal and illegal? Why can't we just say it's moral or immoral?
Because one's legal and one's
Because then where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? A lot of people have different opinions.
In Afghanistan, you can marry an 8-year-old. It is quite literally legal in Afghanistan to marry an 8-year-old. And so does that make it right, Sophie?
We don't live in Afghanistan.
Right. What are you talking about?
It's an analogy. It's an analogy. It's an analogy.
But the
it's a
analogy,
ridiculous
it doesn't
analogy.
Make sense
You're
in this
choosing
term.
a country
in this
with totally
situation,
different
it doesn't
laws.
make sense.
In the United States of America, Sophie Rain,
prior to slavery being
obeys
illegal,
the same laws that you do, James.
No, Piers. Prior to slavery being illegal, would you have opposed slavery because it was legal? It was legal, Piers. It's okay if it's legal, right?
Sophie?
Oh, you're asking me? I mean, I didn't live back then. I'm just here to talk about what we are here to talk about, which is syntax, and it's a
course you
selective.
didn't live back then, Sophie. Of course you didn't. This is my issue. I'm here to have a good faith conversation with a former Florida resident, a current Florida resident. And my point to Sophie is this, is if you want to keep doing this, then we're going to take 50% of what you earn and we're going to use it to raise public school teacher pay. Our public school teachers are not getting paid enough. We're going to use this as a resource to fund the empowerment of young women who have signed up to do something dignified, with all due respect, unlike you, and be a public school teacher, educating, inspiring, and motivating.
Do you know what, James?
The next generation.
You know what? Here's what I would say. I've got to end this debate. Here's what I would say. I've listened to both of you, and you've both made good points. But honestly, that last statement you made was so pompous and patronising. Honestly, who are you to be the great moral arbiter of what young women do with themselves legally in the United States? Who are you to say if you become governor, you're going to take half her money in a state where they don't have even state income tax? It's like there's a real arrogance to this, that you've decided you are the moral arbiter of every Floridian, and it may be why you're trailing so badly in the polls. And Sophie, the good news for you is don't worry about it, because he's not going to win. So you're not going to end up giving Mr. Fishback any money for his plans, much as it would be great to put more money into teachers in public schools. Of course it would be, but it won't be coming from you, Sophie Rain, because he ain't going to win.
Piers, on the other hand, keeps defending Sophie, and honestly, he makes the debate feel like a late-night fan forum more than a serious discussion. He's constantly interrupting Fishback, rolling out talking points like, but she's happy, she's rich, she's empowered, as if that settles every argument. And while yes, Sophie is empowered and clearly happy, defending her doesn't negate the real issue. The platform and the content have consequences that are often ignored in these debates. Not every young woman has Sophie's support system, financial literacy, or personal agency. Here's the thing about consequences. They matter. Fishback's argument, however clunky, does bring up a valid point about the long-term impact on young people who see OnlyFans as a path to financial freedom. When you have impressionable teens or young adults watching and thinking, oh, that's the way to make money fast, some of them take that leap without understanding the fallout. Piper is a real-world example. Piper tried to emulate Sophie, ended up losing her job, got alienated from friends and family, and now has regrets. That's the kind of unintended social consequence Fishback keeps waving at, even if his analogies make you cringe. Then Piers decided to make this whole debate even weirder by throwing down a $10,000 charity bet. Basically, he's telling Fishback, you're going to lose, so let's put some money on it. Fishback tries to negotiate for bigger odds. Sophie's involved because, well, she's in the middle of this circus, and the bet is supposed to go to charity. Piers insists it's going to a pro-life charity and makes Fishback promise his donation goes to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. It's equal parts awkward, flexy, and basically a publicity stunt masquerading as a moral wager.
Well, if I'm not going to win, Sophie Rain can put a $5 million bet on Polymarket tonight that I'm not going to win. She'll make a lot of money. What I will tell you, Piers, is the same arrogance, the same arrogance.
Sophie doesn't need the money, but I might do that so that I can become as wealthy as Sophie Rain. Why don't we say this? I'll bet you $10,000 to a charity of your choice you do not win. Do you accept the bet?
Well, I want to know what the odds are, because Polymarket wants to
just
give
me and you.
10 to 1.
Mano to mano.
At what odds? I get 10,000, you get 10,000. That's a 50-50 bet,
against
Piers.
Mr. Perfect. Let's have a little 10 grand bet to charity on camera. Sure. On camera.
Sure.
I say you're going to lose. If you are this confident you're going to win, take the bet.
The funny part of this whole situation is how ridiculous the debate actually gets. Fishback is threatening a sin tax as if he has the power to decide who is good or bad, while Sophie calmly explains content and transparency like it's a simple logic. Piers keeps praising Sophie and defending her like he's trying to get a personal reward from her. So the obvious question is, how did someone who's aware that they made over $100 million still think their net worth was only $5 to $20 million? That wasn't a small mistake. That wasn't being slightly off. That gap was so massive, it didn't make sense unless something else was going on. Even after factoring in taxes, spending, or bad investments, there was still no realistic way she dropped over 100 million earned down to possibly having just 5 million. That would have meant she lost an insane amount of money, which she never claimed, or she genuinely had no awareness of what was happening to her finances. Either way, it didn't make her look good. This was where the hypocrisy really showed. She had no issue being extremely precise when it came to her earnings. She posted screenshots, shared exact figures, and made sure everyone knew how much she made. But the moment the conversation shifted to net worth and where that money actually actually was. Suddenly, it became vague. She didn't know. Someone else handled it. You couldn't be hyper aware when it came to showing off income and then completely clueless when it came to keeping it. That didn't add up. It felt like she understood the numbers where they made her successful, but checked out the moment those same numbers required accountability. Knowing you made 100 million sounded impressive. Explaining where that 100 million went was a completely different story, and that was the part she avoided. Either she had been massively downplaying her net worth, or she had let other people control everything to the point where she didn't even know what she owned anymore. Both possibilities were bad, just in different ways. More like she didn't ever have the kind of money she was bragging to have. This guy brought up that maybe she never actually had the kind of money she was bragging about in the first place. Instead of it being a case of losing millions or getting scammed, it could be simply that the earnings were exaggerated, misunderstood, or never properly accessible to her actual wealth. That would explain the huge gap between claimed income and her vague net worth estimates without needing any complex financial mystery behind it. You lost me at 5K a month. She's just lying, or probably scammed at the same time. Pretty insane that you don't know your finances. She's a definition of wealthy and brain dead. Another tweet said she was clearly just straight up lying about the 5K a month thing, and probably got scammed at the same time, which makes the whole situation even more chaotic. Who knows what her agenda could be for just blatantly lying, but they pointed out how insane it was that someone could be wealthy but still have no real understanding of their own finances. In their view, she came off as the definition of rich but completely clueless, which is exactly how people end up losing control of their money without even realizing it. Bro, this is actually wild. She's out here making millions and only getting 5K a month while her advisor does God knows what with the rest. Girl, fire him yesterday and get your own accountant ASAP. Never trust nobody with your bag like that. This whole situation is actually wild. She was supposedly making millions while only getting about $5,000 a month, with her advisor handling the rest and doing who knows what behind the scenes. That kind of setup is already risky on its own, but the fact she didn't even seem fully aware of where her money was going made it even worse. At that point, it wasn't just about trust anymore, it was about total lack of control. If anything, she should have cut ties immediately and brought in a proper accountant or fiduciary to actually verify everything. Nobody should be handing over that much financial power without full transparency. But what's your take on this whole mess? Let us know in the comments below, and if you want more internet drama, smash that subscribe button and check out our Spotify so you can keep up with the Daily Tea while you're on the go. See you in the next one.